All right. Hello, everyone. It is Wednesday, which means you're watching another episode of Hopeful Hump Day. I almost forgot what it was called. I was going to say Hopeful Wednesday, but that wouldn't be as cute. Um, yeah, we are just, our goal here on Wednesdays is to help get you through your week with a little extra dose of hope. We've been talking to people about their own personal development journey, their stories of hope, because Steph and I, we do it for selfish reasons. We do it so that we could hear the stories really, but we'll share them with you. So today I'm super excited because we're with Nilda and she has an awesome story to share with you guys. She had to overcome a challenge of leaving her home because she was in a relationship that wasn't right for her, and she has two kids. So I mean, there was a lot of uncertainty. She didn't even necessarily know where they were going to be living. Um, but she took that huge first step of getting out of the situation. And she prayed a very bold prayer to God to help her find a place to call home. And He showed up for her big in the form of a Google search. I will let her tell you about that some more, but she found this organization that basically put a roof over her head and helped her turn things around. Around the same time, she connected with me through. We actually met outside of our daughter's school at the time. And you just meet those people and you think there's more to this, right? Like it felt a little bit different if I felt called to invite her to a Hope Warrior Academy. And I had no idea what she was going through at the time, but apparently it was exactly what she was ready for because, now that she had that roof over her head, she was ready to put in the work to heal herself and really reclaim her future for herself and her kids. And Stephanie and I have had the pleasure of watching her transformation, and it's been pretty incredible. So I'm so excited for you guys to hear from her. So let me just change my view here. And Nilda, you can unmute yourself and say, what's up?
Hi guys, how are you?
Hi, Nilda.
Hi.
So I'm excited to have you with us today too. We've been on a bit of a journey together through a couple Hope Warrior Academies and just talking about Hope Warrior in general. So thank you again for sharing your story with us today. But let's go back in time a little bit, back to when you were in that situation where you were where you needed to, it was a toxic relationship and you needed to get out and not the uncertainty. Just talk a little bit about what was your state of mind? How were you feeling while you were in that relationship?
Well, it was very complex. I mean, you're going through a plethora of different emotions and you're going through all of these different things, and there's a lot of things coming at you, right? You've got work and your children and all of these things, but what's going on inside the home sometimes isn't really talked about. So I was going through a really dark time and very confused and very just not focused, that everything was a blur. And yeah, going through a depression, and sometimes you don't even realize that you're going through it, but I definitely was. And it was a scary situation, walking on eggshells in my own home. And I mean, that's just how it was. It was very difficult, and the kids as well were nervous and anxious, and it's just one of those situations where you try to work it out, you try to make it work as best as you can you know
And about how long would you say, you were feeling like that? How long did that go on?
Well, the relationship lasted about 7.5 years, and I would say through the halfway point, I realized this might not work, but you stay because you try to make it work. You see signs early on and you try to, I don't think you try to put a blindfold over your face at all. It's just that it just happens that way. You kind of blind to certain things and you figure, well, no relationship is perfect. We can work it out. We'll figure it out. I'm very helpful and understanding because that's just the type of person that I am. But sometimes it can be a flaw, to your stuff. Well, for me personally, that's how it was. I just kept going and pushing and trying to be helpful in the relationship and not realizing how bad, we were all really suffering.
Yeah, when you talk about that, I can relate a little bit with a situation that I was in, and I think you just continue to try to see the best, and like you said, no relationship's perfect. So, you kind of make yourself think that, this is okay, this will work. And then at some point, maybe you realize that's not going to work. So what was that for you? What made you realize that you needed to make a change in your situation? Oop, I think we lost Nilda for a minute. Oh, there she is. Okay.
Okay. For me, it was the change happened when I started listening more to my children and started really seeing how it was affecting them. It was so intense and so real and just raw to hear how bad my children were hurting and how upset they were. And I knew I needed to make a change. Things started affecting them in school and in their social relationships and with family. And it just all came full circle, and it happened fast. It was just like you hit a brick wall, and there's no ignoring the brick wall because it's done so much damage. You just gotta pick up the pieces, right? And I'm the mom. I have to pick up the pieces. I have to make the choices. And I made my choice. And I knew that if I'm making this choice, I have to stick to it. There's no going back. You make that choice, you cross that line, and you stay on the other side of the line. And that's what I had to do.
So I'm assuming that wasn't a quick decision on your part. I mean, once you finally were like, I probably need to do something different. Yeah, how was that? Was there a battle in your mind going back and forth, or was that pretty clear to you and made the decision pretty quickly?
The battle had been going on in my mind for years. So when I finally had made that final decision, it was easy to make that final decision because I had already been trying for years prior to not end the relationship, to do what I could to make it work, to maneuver things and try to accommodate the relationship and all the issues that were going on. Sometimes you need to work on yourself before you can work on an entire relationship or an entire family. And I think that's what my partner needed to do. He needed to focus on his personal issues before he could actually make a change in the family. And since that wasn't happening, nothing was getting better. It was only getting worse. And so then I had to step up and make the decision.
Totally. Yeah, I can relate to that on so many levels, and especially when there's kids involved, you want to do what's best for them, and I think that's why sometimes maybe we do stay in the relationship a little bit longer because we want, not the children to have two parents in the home, but ultimately it sounds like seeing their pain is what kind of opened your eyes to, like, we need to take a step back and maybe work on ourselves and see, how that's gonna go. So I can totally relate, but tell us a little bit about, so once you made the decision to leave, what did that look like? And talk a little bit about that bold prayer.
It looked like chaos at first. It looked like a complete disaster. I was so emotionally distraught. I mean, I couldn't even hold a conversation without tears flowing. I mean, I think I was saying good morning with tears in my eyes every day to random people, like, good morning, hi, just trying to get through the day. And I think it was one of those things where I'm not only trying to get through the day, I'm trying to get through every step that's in front of me to possibly make it through the next hour. That's just how intense it was. So making that change and making that bold move was really difficult because I thought to myself, what am I going to do? Where are we going to live? I have a job, so thank goodness for that, but I'm going to be living check to check. I'm going to be struggling as a single mom. I had all these anxieties and legitimate worries going through my mind. So I left. My children and I, although we were distraught, we were safe. I tried to breathe. I tried to stay calm. And I was, going through my phone and trying to search up apartments, and it didn't really work out the way I thought it was going to be because everything seemed so expensive. So I just said a prayer that first night that I left. It was the very first night because I knew I had to have a plan of action right away. I have two children. I can't stay with my mom forever. And the first night I knew I wanted our own place. I needed a plan. So I prayed to God because I was so desperate. And a lot of times when you're desperate and you hit rock bottom, you seek God, right? And it shouldn't be that way, but unfortunately it is. You're at rock bottom and you pray to God. And I prayed hard, and I said, God, help me figure this out. I don't know what to do. I don't want to struggle, but I need help. And so the very next day, as I did my Google search again, searching for apartments and searching for assistance for, single moms, I've never heard of this place called Fellowship Housing before, but it popped up on my phone. It just randomly popped up on my phone. And I clicked on it and I thought, this is too good to be true, but it turned out to be such a blessing. This program helps single mothers, no matter where you're from, no matter what your background is. If you qualify, it just turns out to be a real blessing. They help put a roof over my head. They helped me financially. They taught me how to live on a budget. They sent me to financial classes. They helped me with food programs. They helped me with all kinds of things. And that really helped build me up and to slowly get out of my depression. Like, okay, I can breathe. I can do this. And then shortly after, that's where you guys came along. And I think I was living in this home with Fellowship Housing for about maybe a month and a half before you saw me outside of my daughter's school and said, hey, join us in Hope Warriors. And my mind was so foggy with everything that I had going on. I wasn't interested at first. I said, there's no way I can handle anything extra in my life. There's no way. But you were very persistent in a good, positive way. And I really appreciate that because I didn't feel like pressure to read a book, or I didn't feel pressure to join in conversation. I could kind of join in on my own baby steps, on my own as I needed to. And, it ended up being really great. The first book that I think it was Girl Wash Your Face. And I laughed because in my mind, I thought, yes, this girl needs to wash her face of all this chaos, these insecurities, lack of motivation, depression. I needed to wash my face of all of it. And so just the title of the book, I got excited and I got into it with you guys, and it really provided a lot of motivation that I was, I was depressed, so I wasn't motivated for anything. But this really helped turn me around, and it gave me like a group of women who wanted to better themselves, better their mind, be hopeful in the future. No matter what dark path you may have come from, there's still hope for the future. And so that's kind of what I took from it, and I'm really glad that I kind of stuck with you guys along the way because, the second time around that I did Hope Warrior Academy, I really took a lot more away from it because I was more open to it. I had already had that time to heal and walk through those dark moments and kind of uplift myself out of that. So it's been awesome.
I think it's a great testimony, and I'm glad you shared that part about the fact that you didn't really want to join the first time because you felt like you couldn't handle it. But I think it's a great testimony to the fact that sometimes we need to push ourselves to do something good, do something positive, because the impact it can have on us, we don't even realize, right? And so putting ourselves in a situation where we're around positivity, encouragement, other people who are trying to better themselves can sometimes be exactly what we need. And sometimes we're just scared to do it, right? I don't want to do anything else. I don't want to put myself into anything. But so anyway, I appreciate you sharing that part because I think it's a great testimony for pushing yourself and putting yourself in a situation where it could help you.
Yeah, and definitely listening to other stories from other women and to see that they could open up and be vulnerable and let out some of the hardest things that they have gone through really helped me to understand that, oh, it's okay for me to share my story. It's actually empowering. It's healing. And, when you're going through a hard time, you don't have to open up and share if you're not ready. And that's totally fine. And that's great. There's no pressure at all, which I love. and you hear other women's stories and you think, wow, that's amazing because I can relate to them or I empathize with them, and it helps you heal. It did for me.
That's awesome. And like thinking back on that time, like I love that you said I was persistent, because honestly, I don't think I really had to do do much. Like I think I only asked you if like I remember asking you, and then you said like, "Oh, I have to run it by some, budget person." And I was like, "Oh, interesting," which I like really intrigued me because I had like just finished doing like a budget program through my church. So I was like, oh, okay, this girl knows what she's doing. But they told you that this was something good to invest in. And then you were like, oh, well, I don't know if I have money for the book. And then I remember I told you to go to the library. And I remember when I told you to go to the library, I was thinking to myself, there's no way they're going to have this book, because this book is very popular. And while we were reading it, it was probably like at its peak. And I was thinking, there's no way she's going to find it. And I was so surprised when you messaged me, like, I got the book from the library. I thought, oh my gosh, God is on this girl's side. Like, so it was just, I don't know, I thought it was special. But so you're in the academy and you're just kind of watching mostly. What was the biggest thing that you kind of took away from it? Or like, how did it affect, like, kind of how you were looking at your situation and, like, your mindset?
It was definitely a lot of motivation for me, and it changed my mindset in the way that I realized I needed to take time aside from my children, work, anything going on in my life. I needed to take that time aside for me. So taking that time aside for me, it was like, okay, this is your time to have your quiet time, whether you want to read, listen to some music, whatever it is that you need to do or that I needed to do. I made that time for. And it was because of Hope Warriors, because you guys said, hey, you're important. You need to clear your mind. You need to take care of yourself and build yourself back up. And so, that's what I took from it. I listened to, or I read Girl Wash Your Face, and then I was motivated to read her other book, which I think I listened to it on Audible. So then as I was working, I was being motivated because I was listening to these books. And it kind of just continued on even after Hope Warrior Academy was over with that book. I still continued on Audible. And so, using that, and with Fellowship Housing, they have a lot of great support as well. And I just kind of combined it all, and little by little took that time for myself to heal and build myself back up. And it was just trying to transition from this dark place into a positive place, to being who I was again.
That's awesome. And it's great, to see the transition in yourself, when you can see that change, and how it's affecting your life. So what is life like today? You kind of are on the other side of where you were, you're not in the situation you were in the past. And so how are you approaching life today? Are you approaching it differently? Are you thinking differently about the decisions you make or how you look at things? How's that?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Things are completely, where the children and I are a lot happier, a lot more at ease. And when we have those moments where we're filled with anxiety or doubt or stress, which, is normal, it's a part of life, I know how to handle it better now. I know how to make sure I take that time aside for myself. I need to breathe and focus, or maybe I need to exercise and do some Hope Warrior yoga, or whatever it is that I need to do for myself. I take that time. I know where to find motivation. I know where to reach out if I need someone to listen. I have the support systems, and I know who I can go to, and who is going to be most sensitive to what I'm going through, and how to build myself back up. Because it's a part of life. We're going to have problems, we're going to have issues, and things are going to happen. But how do you work through that? Do you just fall back into depression and just sit there? No, that's not who I am. I've got out of that, and I know how to stay out of it. And I do have moments where I'm frustrated and I don't know, what am I going to do, or why am I stressing over this? But I know how to cope with it now. And I think that's the biggest takeaway, is that I know how to find my motivation again.
Yeah. Well, just kind of learning new skills, new behaviors, new ways of approaching things. Like you said, I mean, we're going to go through other things. We're going to have times where we're going to be frustrated, where we're going to be depressed, where we're going to have struggles in our lives. But I think that's one of the things we are really trying to help with Hope Warrior Academy is, how do we build those new skills and behaviors to, like, next time that happens, we can approach it in a way that we're not going to be stuck down, right? We can bring ourselves up, we can look at it, our perspective can change, and we can be intentional about how we approach life. And it just makes life better, not perfect. Yeah. Can't get to that point, but it just definitely makes life better. So it's awesome to hear you're able to utilize some of those new skills in your life today. And I wanted to say we've got a few comments coming in. So you've got some wonderful friends here commenting that they're Lynette says that you guys have been friends for a lifetime and how proud that she is of who you are and the challenges that you've overcome. So that's amazing to see, when you're friends, she's known you for a lifetime. And she's seeing that. So that's awesome to hear. Mamita said, I'm very proud of my friend Nilda. You're a strong woman with a heart of gold. I mean, those are wonderful compliments. So you are definitely making an impact on the people around you, and just that's wonderful to hear. So I wanted to make sure I brought those up. Thank you guys for commenting.
I was trying not to tear up here.
Oh girl, she only read 2. There's you're getting so much love. Like so many people, so many people see you for real. Yes. And that's awesome.
And tears are good. Tears are that's real. We're real people, right? We have emotions, and this is sometimes how we show it. So I see you have your Kleenex, so you're good.
I was prepared because I knew at any point it could happen. And right. I think that's something important that I learned back when I was going through my difficult time, is that it's okay to cry. I don't see it as a form of weakness. I know a lot of people say, don't, you're crying too much, you have to be strong, or you need to have thick skin. And it's like, no, I see it as where you're crying because you're going through something difficult, something hurts you. Let it out so that you can wash your face and move on and pick yourself back up. You have to kind of walk through that pain. You can't just block it out and put it under the rug and say, I'm going to ignore that, because it's still under the rug, right? So cry about it, let it out, and move on and just kind of build. It's not going to just go away in one day or 1 month. It's a process. It really is. And so move on, be strong and strength, you have to grow in your strength. You don't just automatically,
Just like working out. We can't work out once and we're all buff, right? Darn it.
Don't get me started on that.
Yeah, we won't go there. Yeah. Well, so I think we're going to hand over our job today of Hope Warrior and let you provide us with, and our audience, with the insight and mindfulness question for today.
Okay, well, my insight is to put your energy into your future and not into your past. And that is, very meaningful for me. I don't want to put my energy into what was, because that negativity is gone. So I want to put my energy now into my future, because that's what's important. And my mindfulness question is, how are you helping produce energy for your mind and body to propel forward?
Very good. We need that reminder sometimes to not look back. We have lessons from the past, but looking forward and putting our energy there. Thank you for sharing that. We'll post that on our page too, so everyone can have that handy as a good reminder for them.
Thank you.
Yeah, so it's about that time. Nilda, thank you so much for taking the time to do this and to pour into our community. Stephanie and I have learned so much from you. That's why we do this, is to connect with people like you that have such incredible stories that, we get more of an impact when we're literally interacting. We can read so many books, but to really have a relationship with somebody and see the transformation happening in real time is really special. So thank you, and we'll see everybody again next week for Hopeful Hump Day. Thank you for watching.
Bye,
Thank
everyone.
you. Bye.